A coroner has called for a review into high-speed police chases, including a possible 2-minute limit on pursuits. Are our police forces too quick to put the pedal to the metal?
It's not hard to understand why high-speed police pursuits make headlines. Thanks to Hollywood, we've almost been conditioned to think of car chases as entertainment. But unlike the movies, real-life pursuits can have all too real consequences. 21-year-old Hamish Raj was killed when his motorcycle collided with an oncoming car during a chase involving 3 police vehicles.
This is a far from isolated case. In just the last year, they engaged in some 1,400 police pursuits. That's more than 25 a week. Often highly dangerous police pursuits at high speeds through suburban streets.
Yesterday, the coroner found Raj's death was probably avoidable, saying the TAFE student only accelerated to 160 k's an hour after the pursuit began. The ruling did point out the victim could have stopped, and the coroner didn't fault the officers involved, but he described the state's pursuit policy as Russian roulette.
It's impossible to predict when someone will be killed or injured, but at some stage, that's the inevitable result of this policy.
The coroner called for an independent review of the policy, and in the meantime recommended a 2-minute limit on urban pursuits and a 5-minute cap in regional areas. One criticism of time limits is they could give criminals an incentive to try to outrun the cops. But the fact is, only a small minority of pursuits involve known criminals on the run from the law.
You don't have to engage in a dangerous high-speed police chase to give someone a speeding ticket or to find someone for an illegal U-turn. 60% of the high-speed police chases in this state are done in response to those kind of minor traffic offences.
So, is it time for New South Wales to pull the plug on police pursuits?
Peter Hosking is a former Queensland police officer who gave expert evidence at Hamish Raj's inquest. Peter, how many deaths and injuries result from police pursuits?
Look, I can't speak for the number of injuries, but certainly the average death count is around about 20 people across Australia every year. Obviously, the number of people are injured as well. Innocent bystanders on a number of occasions, but also probably in particular the predominant number would be the drivers. One of the key factors to consider here, though, is also that although the drivers can be classified as offenders, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily serious offenders in every instance either. And quite often they're young males, only between 17 and 24 years old. They made silly decisions out of fear or out of a fear of losing their licence or whatever, and they then make a decision that they really can't go back on, and they've committed themselves to an act that really brings down a wealth of hurt in terms of other people as victims and themselves, unfortunately, on quite a lot of occasions.
Is the risk worth the reward?
Certainly not in my view. It's very, very difficult to explain later to loved ones of those who were killed or injured that it was worthwhile for a relatively minor police-related incident.
Well, thanks so much for your time tonight, Peter.
Thank you very much.
You do wonder if they do cut it down to 2 minutes as a limit and this becomes public, does that make it a bit of a game for those involved?
Well, it's one of those, whether that sort of police policy should be made public, because if you know that you're going to have 2 minutes and then the cops are going to give up, yeah, does that become part of the game?
I think there'd be some people out there who are very sympathetic to the idea that we don't want anyone to die in these circumstances, particularly bystanders, that sort of thing. But there'd be another group of people like, these are criminals and we want the cops to chase after the criminals. Like, it's not like you can say, I don't run very fast, can you chase me really slowly, please?
And I suppose at some point the training of the officers that do this, we have to put some responsibility and trust them to a point to make good decisions. I mean, they carry guns, tasers, we trust them with that. I mean, is this another form of enforcement? We need to trust the training and train them to make the right decision, pull out when you need to, as opposed to, yeah, sitting an arbitrary number. That's a clock ticking down, because it does have that feeling of slightly a game involved in it.
Yeah. We'll be back after the break.